Live online morning show. I have some great news. One, I just found my second pair of glasses. You'll be happy to know that. Actually, I'm happy to know that. But the news I have this morning is I'm happy to be joined by Andrew Lowman. Andrew is a candidate for Gilmer County Probate Judge. Mr. Lowman, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good, Brian. Thanks for having me.
You've never campaigned for anything before. What's it like? I mean, I find on the level when you get up to you know, like House District and Senate and things like that. These men and women are used to campaigning, but has it been a real eye opener for you?
It has. It's been an eye opener, but it's been a great experience. You know, I believe when I first got into this, I never really would have imagined the daily devotion that it requires in order to be able to do this appropriately, and all of the work that goes into this. But I figured it out real quick that it was going to take a lot of devotion, and I've been happy to do it, and it's been a great experience. I've met a lot of great people along the way. I've gotten a lot of support from a lot of great people here in the community, and I've just been really happy with it.
Well, folks, yesterday we've told you, and if you're, have not been keeping up with the probate judge race here in Gilmer County, some have asked me why put so much time into it, but there are a lot of things when you start talking and looking into the probate judge, talking about it and looking into it, there's a lot of things that happen in that courtroom that you just don't think about. And a lot of communities, Andrew, are served by probate judges for several terms. Once you have a probate judge, they're there for several terms. At Gilmer County's probate judge is retiring and not seeking, Judge Anita Mullins seeking re-election. Now, you are a practicing attorney currently. Where's your firm at, or where do you practice at?
Well, as far as practicing and where it's at, I would say probably two different answers, because I practice a lot in the North Georgia area. I probably practice just as much in Gilmer County as I do anywhere else. My office is actually located in Pickens County, though. I work with an attorney by the name of Chuck McCurdy. When I was about 17, I knew I wanted to become an attorney. I thought about it. You know, I started weighing my options, knew that it was time to start making a decision which direction I was going to head, and I really just kind of fell in love with the law. And you know, I really enjoyed and fell in love with the law because I was looking for some sort of way to be able to move forward with my life in a direction where I could help other people. And I got into, researching the law, and I thought, well, I believe this is a good way to do it. So I said, if I'm going to do this, I need to try to find a job with an attorney. So I started driving around. I started here in Gilmer County. I've always been from Gilmer County. I live here now, always have, except for about 3 years when I moved away, went to law school. But always been from Gilmer, and my family's always been from here. My great-great-grandfather was buried in the late 1800s here in Gilmer County. So we've been around here a while. My family has, so I have a very strong connection with this community. I love the people here. I love being able to help the people here. But getting back to what I was saying, I started driving around here in Gilmer County, and I went to some of the local offices, and I was motivated that day. I wanted the job that day, and I was kind of striking out here and there, had no experience, just got out of high school. So I drove down to Pickens County, and I said, well, I'll give it a shot down there, and went into Mr. McCurdy's office, and he said, well, if you can start today, I'll hire you. And that was almost 14 years ago. So I've been fortunate enough to work with him through law school and through my undergraduate degree. I still worked for him full-time while I was obtaining my undergraduate degree. So I've been able to learn a lot. I've been around the law for a long time, and it's something that's very important to me. And that's a lot of the reason why I started getting into the probate law. Right now, my practice, the practice area that I focus on the most is probate law. And the reason that there wasn't really any intention with that starting out. When I started working with Mr. McCurdy at a young age, the jobs that I did for him required me to actually be in the probate courts a lot. And I can remember being in the probate court here in Gilmer County in the old courthouse, where the courtroom, or the actual probate court, was probably about the size of this room, not much bigger. So I've been around the probate courts for a long time, and I've been fortunate enough to see a lot of great judges operate in these courts. And I've seen over the years, the way that the probate judge, when operating in the right fashion, is able to truly help people. It's a court to where people can come in and you can accomplish things that day. I've always admired, the judges around here that are, when somebody comes in and they say, I need this or I need that, and the judge greets them at the door with a handshake, and they're able to get things done like that. And I've always appreciated the courts, the probate court for the ability to do that. Some of the other larger courts, Superior Court judge is not really in a position to do that because you just got so much going on. But a probate judge, I still feel, should be able to meet with people and discuss their issues to the extent that they can. They can't give legal advice, but to the extent that they can. But nevertheless, as my experience with the probate courts grew over the years and I started doing more probate work, I got sworn in, became an attorney in 2011, and for whatever reason, my practice just kind of started focusing in on probate law. I started doing a lot more of it, and over the past couple of years, I was appointed as the county administrator for the Pickens County Probate Court, and over the past couple of months, I've been serving as the public defender for the Pickens County Probate Court, and I've been appointed in basically every role that you can be appointed in the probate courts in our circuit, except for judge, of course, but I've been served in numerous guardian roles. I've served in conservator roles. Like I say, I currently serve as the county administrator, so it's something I'm very familiar with. It's an area of the law that I feel like I've been fortunate enough to gain a lot of experience in over the years, and I've been fortunate enough to I feel blessed to be able to have helped the people in the community with these issues that I have, because as you touched on a minute ago, the probate judge addresses some serious issues, and there's a lot of things that people just don't realize about the probate court. The probate court addresses, problems from addressing estate disputes and disputes among family members when you've probated a will and determining whether the will is good. There's all sorts of ways to dispute a will. The probate judge is the one that decides whether or not the will is going to be accepted to the probate court. The probate judge also addresses any estate issues that arise even when an individual doesn't have a will. So they come in and they have the person pass with property and the family needs to figure out what to do with it. The probate judge oversees that. In addition to that, they oversee your guardianship issues, your conservatorship issues when an individual, whether it be a minor or an incapacitated adult, whenever the family or whoever it may be is trying to determine whether or not to put that individual in a nursing home or have certain other things done, those issues come through the probate court. And I'm not going to get into everything a probate judge does because it's kind of a wide range of things, but one of the other most common things a probate judge does is address some of your minor traffic or criminal matters. The probate judge hears DUIs and traffic crimes and misdemeanor drug possession charges, things like that. So when you look at all these things as a whole, there's some fairly complicated matters that can be presented to a probate judge. And because of that, when Judge Mullins decided to retire this time, I decided, I believe it would be a good opportunity for me to use what I've learned over the years to put get that office headed in the right direction and put the right foot forward, hit the ground running, so to speak, when you get elected, be able to start on day one. Because I do believe it requires someone who's been in this court before, who's been around this area of the law, to be able to adequately do this job, like the people expect immediately. Because the probate judge does address some very serious matters. And when you get into a situation like this and you've not had the experience and you've not been around these issues before, you're in a situation, unfortunately, where you're somewhat practicing on people because you're going to have to figure it out at some point, and there's really no way to learn this stuff overnight. With any sort of job or any type of profession or whatever it may be, there's not really a whole lot that you can pick up, read a book overnight, and be able to start it immediately the next day. And I think this is no different. I think this truly requires someone who's been there before and is able to evaluate the law correctly, interpret the law, and apply it correctly, but also at the same time be able to somewhat relate to what the individuals are going through. And that's another area where I believe I bring something to the table, is because I've represented so many individuals in this fashion, in this court, and going through the problems that they have been going through, that I know where they're coming from. I know what's going on in their mind, because a lot of times it's not just the issues that are being addressed in the probate court. A lot of time there's a lot of things going on outside the probate court that are causing them stress, causing them problems as well. It's usually a bottleneck type situation when you're in a contested matter in the probate court. And the reason I say that is because you're usually fighting with family members, possibly creditors, things like that. I represent a lot of individuals around here where, unfortunately, in our day and age, I represented a couple not too long ago where the husband had passed, The man and wife had been married for about 60 years, and the wife didn't even have a driver's license. Everything was in the husband's name. And so when he passes, it's not a situation where she's unable to do anything, but she's in a situation where her hands are tied. She doesn't know what to do. And so, when we run into that a lot. So it's important to be able to know not only what the law requires from this position, but also to be able to relate to what the individuals are going through when they're going through those time periods in their life, because most people have not ever been in the probate court before. That's why there's so much, I think, somewhat of a lack of education about the court, because you don't really know about it until you've been there. But nevertheless, I want to be able to use what I've learned over the years, use the experience that I have in the court. I've represented individuals in, I think, 22 separate probate courts in North Georgia. So I've seen what the courts should look like when they're running right. Not to say that ours didn't, but I think that I'd like to see some improvement in certain areas, and I think that I can hit the ground and start getting us headed in the right direction on day one when elected.
Well, you bring up something that has, when I say concern me, it concerns me that some people in the probate court race, not some people in the race, but during the race, some people, I asked the question, you are going to sit down with people at one of the most difficult times in their life. They're going through things. And there's a fine line of giving them advice that you can't per se do, but then having compassion and knowing, hey, you need to fill this form out. I can't advise you, but you need to fill this. So you know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
So it is you have to work with people. You're going to have people at a very difficult time when someone passes and there is no will, or there is a situation like that. You made me think for a minute. You took me back just a little bit. I always wondered, my grandmother never drove a car, never had a driver's license. Let me ask you one thing. Let me ask you a question before we close. Throughout the campaign, what some of the forums you've been to, meet and greet, we had a debate with the candidates, all the candidates. What are just a couple of the biggest questions people are asking you? What are the two number one things they're asking you about the probate court? What are you hearing the most?
Well, I think probably the two questions that I hear the most are really kind of tied into one, so to speak, and that's basically what I'm going to do with my law practice. Kind of revolves around that. A lot of what I hear, we've heard the words full-time a lot. If you're going to be a full-time judge, part-time judge, whatever that may be. I think ultimately what people are asking when they ask that question is, are you going to continue to practice law, or what are you going to do with your law office? So those are the two most common questions I get, but in all reality, I think the same answer kind of answers both of them. And what I tell people, I never really realized we were going to get into this much of a, and I don't want to say that I get it every day, all day long either, but I never realized that it would be a situation where they would be discussing what we're going to do when we go home, so to speak, so much in this case. But I understand it as well. I understand people want to know where your priorities are going to be, what you're going to be doing when you're not here in the court, because they want to make sure that you've got this court as your number one focus, making sure that this is your number one priority, because if you're distracted and doing other things, then maybe won't be able to put everything towards this office like you should. And, I've said from the very beginning, I intend to be a full-time judge. And, my interpretation of full-time judge, I don't really, the office right now, I believe they keep hours of 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. I intend to be there through those periods and more, because I think it's going to require more. As a probate judge, you're on the clock 24 hours a day in all reality, because if there are any involuntary commitments, things like that, 1013 issues that arise, you've got to be available. You've got to be available immediately. And I don't feel that that's any different than the job that I currently have now, because I think we've discussed in some of the forums, and when I speak to people a lot about it, my clients, I give my cell phone number out freely to my clients, because I don't want them going to bed worrying about a problem, worrying about an issue that I can answer to them in a few minutes. So I've always told my clients, give me a call, let me know, we'll talk about it, because I don't want you worrying about it all night. And I don't think this job will really be any different than that. I think you're still going to have to address some issues in the evening, some issues at times that aren't necessarily 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and I certainly plan to be available during those times. to answer the other part of the question, what I'm going to do with my law practice, and I know you didn't necessarily ask me that, but that's the other question that I somewhat get. And it's a situation to where I'm not going to completely remove my name from the firm, but I can't tell you that I'm going to be doing anything there. I can't tell you that I won't be doing anything there. And the reason being is because I certainly don't intend to do anything there if I do for quite some time, because I think it's going to take a little while to get this office rolling like I would want it to see it rolling. In the event in the future that in my free time, when I come home in the evenings or on Saturdays, that I'm able to help someone through discussing some sort of legal matter or legal problem, I can't say that I won't do that. And, that's just kind of the way that I'm wired. I like to be able to help people. That's the reason that I'm running for this position. If someone comes to me, for example, I when I first started practicing law, represented a lot of individuals who were, what we argued were being wrongfully evicted. And, very rarely it's not a lucrative profession, let me tell you that. And so very rarely are you in a position where you're doing it for any other reason than to help that person. But if someone came to me in that type of situation, and just because I'm the probate judge, and if I had the time on a Saturday and they said, "Can you look at this lease for me, and tell me what's going on," things like, I'm not going to turn them away. I just couldn't do that. And if I had the time and I have the ability to help someone, I don't think that I should not do it. And now that doesn't mean, on the flip side, that I'm going to be running up and down the courthouse halls practicing law every day, because I'm not. Anything that I did would not conflict with the probate court office, and won't be a matter where it's going to be a concern for anyone in that court. But at the end of the day, if the opportunity arises in the evenings, like I say, or on Saturdays or something like that, I may or may not do some work here and there. But once again,
Saturdays and Sundays, it's funny you say that. My brother-in-law is an attorney. Yes, I've admitted that. My brother-in-law is an attorney, and the poor guy, he's a hard worker, and he won't even watch football on Saturday without his legal briefcase here and his half glasses, and he's reading and he's making notes. He looks up between plays. I mean, Saturday, he doesn't stop. So I think I can understand. I guess what I'm hearing this morning is you're telling me and you're telling the citizens of Gilmer County, if elected, you will make the commitment to the court. That'll be your first priority, is to the court, to the citizens, providing the services, and that if elected, when they come back from a year from now, they wouldn't even be able to hardly recognize if you were handling a little something on the side, because it wouldn't be taken away from the services that the citizens want out of the probate court. I mean, am I somewhat putting that correctly?
I think you're absolutely correct, Brian. I don't know that it will ever be a situation where if I do anything that anyone would ever know about it, because like you said, the probate court will be absolutely my number one priority.
Well, it's understandable. Obviously, you're going to keep your law license. You worked very hard for that, and I respect that. And obviously, yes, you're going to keep your law license, and obviously, something's going to come up. And hopefully you're not from a very large family like my brother-in-law is from, where somebody's always calling, Uncle Mike. So, and you can't turn that down. But I think, first of all, we want to wish you well here at FetcherNews.com. We tell all candidates that we wish you well, and we thank you for your willingness to serve, Mr. Lowman. And don't forget, this Saturday is Election Day here in Georgia. You can go vote on Saturday, and then May 24th is actually Election Day throughout the entire state, every precinct in the state. So we're talking this morning with Andrew Lowman. He is a candidate for Gilmer County probate judge, and he's asking for your vote. Did you ask for their vote?
Well, I'd like to ask for their vote, but before I do that real quick, I would like to thank you, Brian, for having me on this morning. I also want to thank you for everything that you do. I think a lot of what you and your wife and your staff here do goes maybe a little unnoticed in the community. You guys work hard. You really do. I never realized how hard you work until I got into this, and I started realizing that not only do I see you everywhere I go, but I also see on your website that you're also in 100 other places all the time. So
thank you for recognizing.
I know you're on the go a lot, trying to keep the community informed of what's going on, not just our community, but several other counties as well, and I certainly appreciate what y'all do. But yes, I'm a candidate here, as we've discussed, for Gilmer County Probate Judge. I would like for you all to get out and vote for me, whether it be early this week, this Saturday. If you don't make it either one of those times, if you could vote for me at your local precinct on May 24th. I truly want to be able to work for you. I want to be able to get that office operating in a manner to where everyone in this community can be proud for the probate judge and the probate court that we have. Not to say that we don't now, but I think we should. I want to continue on the traditions that our judges have done, and I certainly believe that I'm the candidate to do so. So once again, I'd like for you to vote for me, and if you don't make it out early, vote for me on May 24th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowman.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Brian.
Thank you for coming in. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. We're going to take a brief break, and then when we come back, we're going to have candidate. I need a couple more minutes to wrap up a story, but yes, if you have been waiting to see my interview with 7th District Georgia House 7th District candidate Sam Snyder, Sam will get plenty of time this morning, I promise. So we'll take a brief break. I got a couple more minutes. Stay with me on the transgender bathrooms, and then we'll get Sam Snyder in here. Lonnie, take us to break.